So in Final Fantasy, I can look like a pig through my glamour system. I can dye items if they're dyeable. Makes them look, and it gets this little plus sign to note that they've been swapped out, and then the plus sign is colored to denote the color. In World of Warcraft, that system is called Transmog. If you've played Guild Wars, it works very similar. So there is a whole menu called Appearances. It's actually kind of one big menu. So imagine if you opened up your mount guide and Minions was a tab, your Glamour was a tab, Orchestrons was a tab. So you kind of just collect all this. Your little Collections tab would kind of probably absorb a lot of that. There is a Collections tab in here. It just isn't that helpful. But it works kind of like this, where you can see all the things you don't have. You click on one, and it says where to get it. Sometimes there's multiple places to get it. Sometimes there's multiple items that share an appearance, because they add an appearance to the game, and maybe they want to make it available across 2 or 3 items. Especially back when, like, things were statted. So you might have, like, a Gladiator's leather set, and there were a couple of different stat types, but the Gladiator's leather set always looked like the Gladiator's leather set. So once you get the appearance once, you technically have it. There's some add-ons that will track to say, hey, do you have all the sources, or do you have all the appearances? Appearances being much easier than sources. But because of that, much in the same way that if you want to go into minions or mounts in Final Fantasy, and you want to see these, and you want to see if you have the little check mark, and you want to go through, and you want to check, do I have them when they land in my inventory? There would be a little collections check mark on all these if I had their cosmetics. In World of Warcraft, there are people that go and try to buy all the different cosmetics, and so that adds value to those. And because of add-ons like All the Things, people feel like they complete things. Because of websites, instead of like FFXIV Collect, there are websites like Data for Azeroth that will even rank you based on that. Okay? Now, the item levels may look wildly off if you're returning to World of Warcraft, because they have squished a lot of the items. And so it used to be that maybe the same appearance could drop at the different item levels, and it dropped at the item level based on when you received it. But now, you gotta remember that, like, now all content prior to Shadowlands is 1 to 50. So you've got this, or 8 to 50, or whatever it is. And so now you've got, like, a whole bunch of raids that are dropping, like, eye level 37 loot or something like that. So it's all super goofy, so ignore the item level. And what people are purchasing is the appearance. So they're purchasing cosmetics. And so, depending on how rare it is, certain things are just really hard to get. Like an axe I got the other week was worth 50,000 gold. And that's what it sold for. Or how much people want to look like that. And so, for example, there's an open world farm called the Sandstone Cave. It's named that because there's an item in there called the Sandstone Set. I think Sandstone's right. And the Sandstone Set is the most revealing plate armor. So if you are like a warrior and you want to have tank glams, because their glamour system is bound not by role but by armor type, and so sometimes by class, but mostly by armor type. And so I would have to wear plate gear here. And if I have a character that I want to not have very much armor on, a revealing plate thing may help. And so the Sandstone set still sells for a lot because that's something that does that. So, like, the restrictions of what's available, it'll vary by class and by item. I will say that in World of Warcraft, your seasonal items are only available during that seasonal event to equip, as opposed to in Final Fantasy, I can wear seasonal items all of the time. And so there's a little bit of a different tone when there's a seasonal event. You see a lot of people get that glamour out because it's the only time they can have that transmog equipped, as opposed to in Final Fantasy, the seasonal stuff, you know, like the chicken suit. People wear that chicken suit all the time. That came from an Easter event. Seasonal events in World of Warcraft are also repeated, so you can go back and get last year's seasonal item that got added, as opposed to in Final Fantasy, they're one time, and then the year after they're added to the game, once they've kind of expired, they go onto the Mog station historically, so they become a paid item, but they were not always. So that's kind of why Trade Skill Master has value. That's kind of why, as we kind of run this particular dungeon over and over for a drop, why doing the same thing in World of Warcraft might have value, because those greens, those transmogs, can generate immense value. So there are items like Mana Tombs where it is not crazy to make tens of thousands of gold per hour, just spamming it as a max level, just going in and basically one-shotting everything, kinda.